Welcome to another edition of Daily Airline News focusing on the search for MH370. I'm Jeffrey Thomas and delighted to say today I'm joined by my co-host Blaine Gibson. Greetings, Blaine. How are you?
I'm fine, Jeffrey. Good afternoon. How are you?
Very well, thank you. Very well. Now, today, viewers, Blaine is going to run through some new pieces of debris which have not been brought to our attention or your attention up till now. So, Blaine, I'm going to turn this over to you and let's talk debris.
Yes, these are ones that were found washed ashore a while ago. And I want to talk a little bit about a sensitive issue first, because these two items show signs of possible burning on them. Now, it is not clear if the burning took place at the time of the crash or when, or maybe after they washed ashore, which was the case of one other piece of debris that I found that was burned. It was item 24 in the Annex 13 report, and it was found to have been burned later after it washed ashore. So we don't know. So I just want to, before introducing these two pieces, I want to talk a little about the issue of burning or fire, because it's a sensitive one to families and to all of us, because nobody wants to die or suffer by fire. There are a few things that we can say categorically about Malaysia 370. One is that there is no evidence that there was a fire on board Malaysia 370. In fact, the evidence contradicts it. Planes don't fly on for 7.5 hours after they've had a fire. Only one piece of debris so far out of 43 or 46 showed signs of burning, and ATSB determined that that occurred after it washed ashore. They wash ashore, people put them in fires, they burn things, they experiment with them. We don't know. All the other debris showed no signs of burning whatsoever, and would have, because the smell from a fire stays on the debris even after it's a long time in the ocean. We learned that with the Helderberg. So we can say quite clearly that fire did not bring down Malaysia 370. And we can say categorically that nobody on board suffered or died by burning. Now, there are some theories about localized short fires or heat flashes or small explosion that could have caused what happened to Malaysia 370, electrical problem, exploding oxygen bottle in avionics, or possible intrusion through the cockpit door. And it's worth looking at these. So that's why we explore these two possible 370 debris items here. Again, we don't know if or when exposure to heat or fire occurred. It could very well be after the debris washed ashore. We don't know. So let's look at those two pieces now, and Jeffrey will be showing you pictures of those. The first one, it's sort of a grayish silver cabin debris, slanted gray composite with crushed metal honeycomb inside. And it's tightly fit, narrow, square composite metal honeycomb. It appears burnt or exposed to heat. It is, however, unclear when that occurred or what caused it. Now, these are two small pieces that fit together perfectly, so they probably split after they washed ashore, almost certainly. 4 inches by 4 inches. The honeycomb is a 1/4 inch thick. The slant on the gray debris is 1/2 inch. They were 4 inches long before broken. They were found on Riake Beach in 2017, interestingly, ironically, by a local woman named Moss, M-A-S. That's her name.
Mhm.
One aviation engineer who examined it said it was from a structural location, either a monument wall or part of the airframe, or possibly part of the bulletproof cockpit door. So this would be very interesting. So we've handed it to a lab for examination, but do not yet have any results.
Okay. And the other piece?
The other piece is item 5 that I have shown on your show, which if it's included to the other 43 would make 48 debris total. It is a light brown composite interior, but not a hexagonal honeycomb. It's like a brown filler. It's a 1/4 inches thick. The piece is 4.5 by 10 inches. It is partly burned over one small place on one side. However, it's unclear when or how that small burn occurred. It was found washed ashore by a local fisherman on Riake Beach, Madagascar, in March of 2019. And that piece, I'm interested to know what people and experts think. It is not in my possession yet. I'm interested to know what they think about this brown filler, not honeycomb. I've seen it in photos of Boeing 747 debris from a wing panel, trailing edge. However, I don't know if this is from a 777 or not. I ask you guys to give me some ideas.
Mm, mm. Fascinating. So, Blaine, is there any more debris out there that you're aware of that you'll be bringing to us in the future weeks and months?
Yes, there is. I will be bringing them to you to show to you first here on Airline News, and then I'll be trying to get them in my possession and investigating them. But I do want to say one thing about these two pieces and the other pieces that I have received some poor quality pictures of or had described to me. Many of you are really convinced or want to believe that MH370 is intact or mostly intact underwater. I disagree, but I don't really care. I don't have a dog in this fight. I just follow the evidence. If I had thought that 370 was intact underwater, I would never have gone looking for debris on the shorelines in the first place.
True.
Each small shattered piece of 370 debris that I and other people find, and it's up to about maybe 46 now, each one is one less piece of that supposedly intact aircraft or intact fuselage underwater.
Mm,
I'm sorry, but it's not intact. I've found and collect 22 pieces, now more, that demonstrate that the plane is not intact underwater. 21 other people in 6 countries have found 21 pieces that say it's not intact underwater. So I would ask you, if you really claim that the aircraft is intact, please find just one piece of debris
mm.
that proves that it is.
Yeah, indeed. Look, it cannot be intact underwater, and that's all there is to it.
It's not. I'm sorry, it's not.
Because I mean, even if it was, and it wasn't, a very nicely controlled ditching with a swell at 3 meters, not a chance. It's going to break up, and
That's right.
that's just the law of physics. And then the fact
Yeah.
that you've found debris that's from the inside of the aircraft proves conclusively that it did break up.
Yeah.
But on that, and we've got time just for a quick question, which it's not going to be a quick question. It'll be an interesting question. Paul Todd, 3497, raised an issue. He said, question on the floating debris. If there were three cold fronts soon after the crash, and we made the point that between March the 8th and March the 28th, when we started searching in the area where we now believe it is, that's the University of Western Australia drift modelling area. It's also the WSPR area. There's 20 days, and there was three fronts moved through. And he says, surely there would be floating debris that would end up on the Western Australian coast. Now, this is something that, I mean, if you don't follow the currents, it would seem logical that some debris would end up on the Western Australian coast. But the reality is where the crash site is, and correct me if I'm wrong, Blaine, but where the crash site is, according to the UWA drift analysis, that's where the Western Australian current is, and that is going north. And it's going north
Yes.
to the equator, turns about 10 to 15 degrees below the equator, and goes west. Now,
Yes.
between the Western Australian current and the coastline of Western Australia is the Lewin current coming down from the north and sweeps down past Perth, Fremantle, Bunbury, around Cape Lewin, and into the Great Australian Bight. So that's why no debris has ever turned up on the West Australian coast. Is that my summation right, Blaine?
Yes, that's exactly right. And just to add, those three cold fronts would help stir up the ocean
Yeah.
and cause the debris to disperse a little faster.
Yes.
However, the debris would disperse anyhow,
Yeah.
just by the ocean currents alone.
Yeah.
And the wind factor directly on the debris is minimal. So
Mm.
the wind catching that debris would not be enough to push it 1,000 miles across the currents and
Mm.
then drive it right through the Lewin current to the
Mm.
shore. The most powerful cyclone in the history of the world would not do that. The
Mm.
direct effect of wind on the debris is minimal and
Mm.
enough to help disperse the debris, maybe quicken that a little bit, but not enough to drive it across the currents and through the currents to the coast of West Australia.
Yeah. Yeah. And in fact, the University of Western Australia area is actually up to 1,700 kilometres west of the shoreline of Western Australia. So it's a fair way to go.
Yes, I'm American, so I speak in miles.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, you do. So, so viewers, that's all we've got time for today, with Blaine bringing us up to date with two new pieces of debris that we haven't seen before, and a quick question at the end. But Blaine is going to be back very shortly with answers to a whole lot of your questions. So watch out for that episode coming up very shortly. So thank you, Blaine, for your time today. Viewers, thank you for subscribing. Please like us. Please keep the comments coming. And please also wonderful messages of support. We do appreciate them very much indeed. They're very heartwarming. Thank you, Blaine.
And thank you, Jeffrey, and thank you, all viewers.